The reason I want to do it by quintiles, right now, the number of firms that are traded in American stock exchanges is very large. Discounting all the ETFs and other stuff, it's probably over 5,000. So when you talk about the lowest 10%, we're talking about 500 firms, right? But back in 1926, that number was around 500. So number of firms in the deciles is relatively small, which makes these portfolios somewhat noisy. So again, looking at the quintiles, let me move this here. Looking at the quintiles, smallest firms, smallest 20% of the firms make about 1%, largest 0.64, the difference about 0.66. I'm sorry, 0.37. Again, risk is much higher for small firms, but let me hide these. Looking at the alphas, other than the large firms, it's 8-9 basis points, but the trainer ratios are pretty much constant except for the large firms, okay? So this basically says firms that are not large have returns that are over and above what can be explained by beta alone. Let's do the same thing for this one. Again, on hide. I already have that file open. So let's get those returns. Copy. Delete these. I'm going to hide these again. Delete. Okay. Again, return differential is similar to what we observed on size. If you look at alphas, for the growth firms, it's pretty much zero. But for the value firms, especially the real value firms, the highest book to market, 17 basis points alpha per month is a pretty large number. Remember, 17 basis points is about 2% compound a year. As I said before, if you told me that there was a fund manager who had an alpha of 2%, I would basically drown that guy in bonuses. It is that big in fund management business. That means this guy is making 2% over and above all the risk that he or she is taking. I mean, that would be a very successful hedge fund manager, because typically hedge fund managers get their fee based on how much they exceed their benchmark. If a hedge fund manager exceeds their benchmark by 2%, even a small hedge fund has $1 billion in it. Typically, they get a quarter of that extra. So if you get That's $5 million performance premium. And that's for a small hedge fund. Some of the large hedge funds are in $100 billion range. Multiply that by 100, and that's a pretty successful hedge fund. And this is basically without taking any market risk and without even essentially picking stocks, okay? So this number is especially big. Similarly, trainer ratio for the value stocks is much higher compared to growth stocks. So it cannot be explained by risk alone. I mean, I want you to pay attention to these because I'm going to ask you guys. I should post it this tomorrow afternoon. Group homework. Yeah, we have group homework in this class. I'm going to ask you to do a similar analysis to what I've done for these. Now, given this, given that we find that CAPM is not a good description. Come on. Good description of asset returns that are based on size and book to market. What do we do? The first thing this suggests, there's an advanced theory of asset pricing called multi-factor asset pricing. It basically says, or CAPM basically says, there is only one source of systematic risk, and that's the market risk. But what we're finding is that there is something going on other than the market risk. Because if I look at portfolios of large versus small, you know, if I buy the small cap stocks and short the large cap stocks, and that is a very easily achievable strategy because shorting large cap stocks is not that difficult. Shorting small cap stocks typically may have issues because you have to find stocks to borrow. You don't have that issue in large cap stocks. There are a lot of ETFs, pension funds that buy these stocks anyway. Even if they're not picking the stock, they're buying the overall market. They're happy to lend it because they're going to earn some return on that. And if you have a stock and your broker asks you to lend it, they actually pay you something. I mean, I don't have that many, but there are some stocks that I carry on my Robinhood. Let me see. I'll just show you what's going on. Let me see. Stock lending. Apparently, since I have an account deficit, since I started, I made $1.23 on it. Oh, I'm using margin. That's why. I was wondering. I don't have a. So that strategy is completely achievable. So you basically buy the. Let's look at the size. buy the smallest 20% of stocks and short sell the largest 20%. Every month, you're going to make on average 0.37%. Okay. And that's without taking the overall market risk. That's roughly 4.5% a year. Okay. Or if you want to do compounds, yeah, that's 4.5%. If I'm making 4.5% without actually taking directional risk, I'm in hedge fund heaven. By the way, I haven't even leveraged any of these strategies. And you can actually leverage these kinds of strategies quite a bit when you're hedge fund. So it's kind of a gold mine. You just keep going there. Some of the more aggressive hedge funds leverage these 3 or 4 times. So you can make 15, 20% return over and above the market. Well, if you can do that, then you're gonna get 5% as performance premium. 5% of $1 billion is $50 million. Where do you think all these hedge fund billionaires are coming from? So these are big numbers. Same thing in book to market. Again, buying the value stocks is not a problem. Shorting the growth stocks is not that much of an issue. The question is, why do we have excess returns to small and value stocks that cannot be explained by their exposure to market risk alone? Every company is exposed to market risk. When the overall market tanks, very rarely you'll find a stock that doesn't go down, but some of them go down a lot, some of them goes down a little. Same thing on the upside. That's kind of the idea with the beta. But this basically says when crap hits the fan, something extra is going on with the small and value stocks. Fama and French, 1991 paper. Actually, let me get the reference to that. It's a good read.